This is Paul Schmid. Welcome to the Pursuit Zone. Starting in the summer of 2016, Lisa Pugh and Alyce Kuenzli will attempt to become the first female expedition to complete a source-to-sea descent of the world's fourth longest river system, the Jefferson, Missouri, and Mississippi. They call their expedition Source of Confidence, and its aim is to inspire and teach women and girls to discover and build their own sources of confidence. At this time, they are about halfway through their journey, and you can read more about it at thewildernessclassroom.com/SOC expedition. Alyce and Lisa, welcome to the Pursuit Zone.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Before you got started with this expedition, did you have any previous canoeing experience?
We did. Actually, both of us did a little bit of different experience and some shared experience, but we're both Minnesotans, so we both grew up pretty much right in, on, around, near the water. And I personally, this is Lisa, I grew up paddling and ended up going to college and rowing on the rowing team, and then eventually made my way to Outward Bound in northern Minnesota in the Boundary Waters and started leading expeditions, canoeing expeditions in the Boundary Waters, anywhere from a week to 50 days. So that's been the bulk of my experience. And Alyce and I actually both paddled the Blood Vein River together, and Alyce has paddled a bunch of rivers in Canada.
Yes, this is Alyce. I started canoeing and doing expeditions with a YMCA camp called Nojum when I was 16. Did canoeing for 4 summers, and then met Alyce later on in 2012 at Outward Bound, did canoeing expeditions, and then I've also canoed the Mississippi from its source in Itasca to the Gulf of Mexico.
Can you explain to me a little bit about how you get yourselves to the source? Because I noticed there was some, you were having to hike through some snow, you were having to do some pack rafting. Can you tell me a little about that?
Yeah, definitely. So the source is an interesting place. You can take the old Continental Divide Trail. It's up near West Yellowstone in southwest Montana, right on the border with Idaho. And there's a trail that you can follow if it's not under snow. But when Alyce and I started, the trail was actually completely under snow. And so we attempted to start following the trail, but it's not very well marked because, like I said, it's the old Continental Divide Trail. So we attempted to do that, and then we ended up just following the creek itself, Hell Roaring Creek, which is what we followed back all the way to the source, which is at about 8,600 feet in Montana. And it's called Brower's Spring. But, of course, all of that was under snow when we started, so we haven't actually seen Brower's Spring. We just found it by coordinates.
And a lot of people ask us if we brought our canoe up with us when we were hiking up to the source, and we did not bring our canoe up with us. We got into our canoe when we reached the Clark Canyon Reservoir outside of Dillon, Montana. So the first 3 weeks of the expedition was backpacking with a combo of the pack rafting.
Well, that's a good segue into, why don't you tell me a little bit about your boat and also the paddles that you're using?
Yeah, definitely. Our boat is a 16.5-foot Winona Cascade. And I can't tell you the exact weight on that. Ours is a little bit older. It is probably about 85 pounds unloaded. And then we also are using Sanborn paddles from Sanborn Canoe Company. And so we're using the Nessmuk paddles, and they're both a bent shaft paddle, carbon fiber, lightweight, really, really nice for long expeditions. On the windier days, we sometimes have to pull out our other paddles, which are our bending branches. I have a Sun Shadow, and I'm not sure which.
I have an Bending Branches Expedition Plus.
Yeah, and so we use those just with a bigger blade for the days that are a little bit more windy and tougher to maneuver with the smaller Sanborn paddle blade. But those Sanborns are really, really nice for distance because you really don't feel it in your arms. It's like paddling with a feather, but it moves the boat pretty good. Mm-hmm.
How long did you guys spend planning this expedition?
We spent almost a year and a half. So we started coming up with the idea of the route and what we were going to call our expedition in April of 2015. So the idea had started to be talked about in February of 2015.
What kind of support do you have behind the scenes?
We actually have a tremendous amount of support, starting with Victoria Carpenter is the third woman of our team, and she was living in southwestern Montana for May, June, July, and then the beginning of August. 2 days ago, we met up with her as she was driving back to Minnesota, where she'll be for the next 2 months, offering support in terms of posting stuff to our website, uploading pictures and videos, and she's also the documentarian as we are making a documentary about our whole expedition. So she's starting to organize the footage. We have a lot of footage. And Vicki was also doing a lot of our logistics and will continue to help do our food resupply. So the next time we'll see her will be at the beginning of September. And then the Wilderness Classroom, which is run by Amy and Dave Freeman, and they've been offering a lot of support. The canoe we're using is theirs, along with some other gear that they've loaned us, and the use of their website and their following, and also just other tidbits and information about doing adventure learning and education. And then our families have been instrumental and continue to offer us encouragement and storing stuff for us at their homes and driving canoes across the country, sending us packages of candy. My mom just sent us a package, which was really nice. And then our friends, too, have been incredibly instrumental. We've met up with friends along the way. We had a lot of friends who were living in the Bozeman area, so they helped us out in the beginning when there was just a lot of unknowns about the route and the river system. Yeah, we wouldn't be here without all of the support that we receive. And financial, we have a lot of people who we don't even know who donated to our Kickstarter and who have just offered kind words and supportive words via Facebook, telling us that they enjoy following our expedition, which then motivates us to stay upbeat in some of the more challenging moments.
How have you two been getting along so far?
Great. Well, it's funny. I mean, it's like any relationship you have with somebody, whether it be a working relationship or some sort of partnership, whatever it is, there's going to be conflict, and we definitely have our fair share of conflict. We, spend all of our time out in the elements, so there's plenty of chaos that really neither one of us have control over, but we do a really good job. We're very intentional about coming together and trying to speak from a place of trying to understand and be curious what the other person might be thinking or feeling, rather than judging or assuming right away, and which tends to kind of escalate a conflict. And so we really, through this process, we're on day 92 now, but through this process have been doing a great job of figuring out what is the best way to work with this other person, because everybody's so different, and Alyce and I both have our, similarities and our differences, but our ability to come together and look at the situation and take a look at what the problem is and get to the source of it actually is pretty good. And something that we're honing. It didn't start so great. We definitely had a rocky start. May was a tough month for many, many reasons. But now that we're in August, we're feeling pretty good, pretty strong.
And we're also learning when the times of the day when we're both really tired, and when it's a good idea to just give each other space and not really try to talk through any problems or any issues we're having. So we know that certain times of the day are at the time where we need to just give each other space, which can be hard when you're in the same canoe in this small space and then at a campsite. So it's a lot of fun.
We must have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fun.
What's your daily routine?
Our daily routine, we will wake up in the morning anywhere from between 5 and 7 a.m. It all depends on what the weather forecast is like, what mileage we need to do, where we're going. We'll wake up and We will take down our tents, pack up our gear, then we'll load the boat, and that takes us about an hour. And then if we are on the river, we'll get in the canoe and we will have a floating breakfast. We'll brush our teeth, put on sunscreen, do all that in the canoe while we're making a couple miles. If we're on one of the reservoirs, we will eat breakfast and do all that on land, since getting in the boat, we wouldn't make any miles. Then we'll canoe pretty much 8 to 9, 10. Some days we've paddled 14 hours. If it's really hot, we'll go swimming every hour. If it's not that hot, we'll still go swimming every hour. And then we'll have lunch and then paddle all afternoon. And once we've found the miles for the day, we'll pick out a camp spot, a sandbar, or just a nice area on shore, pull over, unpack the boat, set up camp, eat dinner, read, write, play music, play card games, go to sleep, and repeat. So about 92 days of that.
So 14 hours, you're thinking, has been your longest day approximately. What do you know in terms of miles, how long your longest day has been?
Yeah, it was about 57, 60 miles, and that's river miles. So we've had the current to our advantage, because in the lake it is just harder to make that many miles in a day. But yeah, that was actually the day that in particular that I'm thinking of, we decided to just keep paddling because it was such nice weather. And when you have nice weather, it is just really nice to capitalize on that versus, potentially getting windbound for days or whatever it might be if a storm blows through. But this particular day was just so beautiful, and everything was going our way. And then the moon was nearly full. And that at that particular time, this was mid-July, the moon and the sun at the same time, around 8 o'clock, were on the same horizon line in the sky. And so we could see the full moon as we were paddling towards it, and then looking back and watching the setting sun. And that was just a really great image for the trip. And then, of course, I had my National Geographic magazine, which I had been carrying around all of Montana. It was a Yellowstone issue. And so I've been carrying that around, and we took some great pictures just as we were exiting Montana and into North Dakota that particular day. But then we realized that just because you can paddle 14 hours in a day doesn't necessarily mean that you should, because the next day was that much harder. We were just so tired from the day before.
This is a two-part question. How have the portages been, and how are the portage carts holding up?
Oh, the portages it's actually been pretty fun, because we're using a portage cart, so we don't actually have to carry the canoe on our shoulders like we're used to doing in northern Minnesota. And we have a Western Canoe and Kayak Expedition cart, and our longest portage at this point has been almost 17 miles, which was around the town of Great Falls, Montana. There's the 5 big falls that have all been dammed. And we did that on June 16th. And what's really interesting, we didn't plan this at all, is that was the exact same one day that the Lewis and Clark expedition was portaging around the 5 Great Falls. At that point, they weren't dammed. It was 211 years to the date. And it only took us one day, whereas it took them a whole month to do that portage. So they haven't been too bad, because then we also have somebody in a car drive all of our packs around the portage, and then we just do our canoe, because otherwise we would be doing the portage 2 to 3 trips, and that would make them really hard. So right now with the cart and the car support, we only have to do 1 trip. Very nice.
What's been the most challenging part so far?
One of the things is weather. I mean, you're out in the elements. A lot of the areas we've been paddling in don't have a lot of trees or shade. So, and the sun is out for a long time, and you're in the sun, and it beats down on you, and it causes a lot of exhaustion. So the weather's been one of the challenges.
Definitely. It's also, it is hard to get along with somebody for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week while you're paddling this canoe, and you're in the same canoe. So sometimes problems that could just be resolved simply by having space, you can't rely on that. And so we really had to learn really how to keep our mouths shut, and also how to bring up issues that need to be brought up, because if something keeps resurfacing, it's something to pay attention to. And so we're learning how to do that. But some days it's just like you are so tired, and it seems like everything is going wrong. Like you pull out your sunscreen, to put sunscreen on, and then all of a sudden the last bit squeezes out a tube, and you're all out now, and a bug flies in your eye, but now your hands are covered in sunscreen. You can't get the bug out of your eye, and
the sun's beating down on you, and you've been paddling in the canoe for like 6 hours, and all you want to do is camp, yet you can't camp because you have to make your miles and keep in line with the timeline.
Yeah, so some days it seems like even the smallest thing is the biggest challenge, but for the most part, it's been pretty great.
And then just logistics of doing the resupplies and meeting up with Vicki and getting our schedules aligned, and sort of just kind of those general logistical issues with a 7-month expedition.
Are you meeting a lot of interesting people while you're out there?
Yes.
So many.
We have been having a lot of fun, because part of what we're doing with our expedition is making a documentary, and that's going to be the story of us doing this expedition. And then it's also, we're trying to do portraits of women, or little sort of intros of women talking about confidence, how they've built confidence. And we've been able to interview a lot of women at this point and have all of these really powerful and inspirational conversations around what it means to be a confident woman, and experiences that other women have had to build confidence, and also experiences they've had that have broken their confidence, and how they've rebuilt it. And then we've also been fortunate to meet a lot of younger girls and get to tell them about what we're doing, and hear them get excited about canoeing and get excited about being in the wilderness. And, because for some of the people we've met, we're the first women they've ever met who are doing something of this magnitude. So it just sort of, you can see a little bit of a spark, like, oh, I see other women doing this, like I can grow up to do that as well. So that's been really powerful.
So when you're interviewing them, are you doing this just with audio or on camera?
Camera. We'll be using, both Lisa and I have iPhone 6s, so they have really nice cameras. So we use those. And then we have lavalier mics that we put into our phone. We also have a GoPro, so we'll use the GoPro, and then we'll do the audio on our phone. And when we're doing these interviews, we'll use both of our phones for audio, just to have a backup if one didn't work.
Just a question about the film that you're making. Is it going to be just about the women that you meet along the way, or will it be about yourselves and the expedition as well?
It'll be a combo. So it's going to be our journey, this expedition, our journey through building confidence, and then portraits of other women, and then potentially incorporating some of our curriculum. We're not, the documentary, like exactly what it's going to be, is sort of this kind of big cloud floating around, where we're just getting as much footage and audio and pictures and writing down ideas about, monologues to put over time-lapse pictures, and sort of just generating ideas.
How do you keep these electronics charged up?
We have a Goal Zero solar panel, and I can't tell you exactly the name of it. Is it Elite? I think it's the Elite solar panel. And so that will charge up. We have 2 Goal Zero battery packs. And so we keep both of those fully charged. One of them can charge our laptop, and the other one we use for phones, for our tracking device, for our GoPro batteries, all those kinds of things. But what we really use the solar panel the most for is all day in the canoe. We'll have one of our cell phones will be on playing music, and we'll just keep the phone plugged into the battery pack, plugged into the solar panel, so that it's just soaking up all the sun and giving us music to get through the day.
And then we have a backup. It's an orange brand solar panel, and that has the battery in it, and that can charge up an iPhone. So we have that as one of our backups. And then also whenever we go into a town or we go to a grocery store, we're on a break with electrical outlets, we will charge all of our electronics that way as well. So we try to always stay on top of keeping things charged.
Do you guys mind if we talk about this incident in Williston, North Dakota, where you had to call the police?
No, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's unfortunate. But yeah, it just was, it was like one of those misunderstandings, because we had shown up in Williston and we had just been given warning to just be cautious of the area. So we had that in the back of our minds, and then there were all these other things happening that day. I ended up needing to go to the clinic to see if I, had somehow mysteriously contracted Lyme's disease or something. There was all of these things happening all day, and then at night at about 2 a.m, we were still at the boat ramp. We had our camp set up and everything, and we were sleeping, and somebody drove in and started playing music really loud, which really wasn't a big deal because there was so much noise as it was with the 24-hour bridge construction and the train going by every couple of hours. But then it just got stranger as he drove the vehicle right next to Alyce's tent and played the music even louder and louder. And it got to the point where neither one of us was really sure what was happening, and it just seemed safer to call somebody else to deal with whoever might be in the vehicle at that point than going over and talking to them. We ended up talking to him anyway as the police were arriving, and he had meant no harm, but unfortunately he had been so intoxicated that the police ended up taking him in for drinking and driving, but that's on part his decision to drink and drive. So it was just it was a bummer. It was not a fun night for anybody really. But we did get to meet the sheriff of Williston, and she was a very nice, phenomenal woman. She offered us bug spray and told us, we told her about what we were doing, and she thought that, paddling the river and being the first 2 women to do it in a canoe was a pretty amazing feat. So that was a shining moment of the evening, but it was pretty.
Yeah, it was just a really
night.
Unfortunate situation, because we meet a lot of different people and a lot of strangers who then become river angels and are very supportive and are very nice. So it just was a really unfortunate situation.
Did you ask the sheriff if you could interview her to be in the movie?
We thought about it, though. We thought about it after the fact, because at that point it was about 2:30 in the morning, and we were pretty tired, though.
We still probably could. We probably could get back in touch with her and ask her later on if she'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, we should. There's a lot of. It's been really incredible as we go. We've met just a lot of really strong, phenomenal, interesting women, and it's been fun when we tell them about what we're doing. The response is, "Oh yeah, I'll be interviewed for your documentary. I'll talk about confidence," and then we just end up having these really, as I said earlier, inspirational and powerful conversations with other women. So,
well, let's switch gears to something a little bit more upbeat. And why don't you guys tell me? I mean, what is the favorite part of being out there for you guys?
Freedom. It's just freedom. When we can be in our expedition rhythm, it is so powerful. You never know what's going to happen during the day because you have no idea what the conditions are going to be, but you know that you're going to get up and you're most likely going to get on the river and you're going to paddle, and you know who you're paddling with, and you know what food you're going to eat. And sometimes that sounds kind of boring, but really, it gives you all this freedom to deal with, whatever might come your way, or to then read your book or write something cool or play the guitar or whatever it is. We get to dictate our own schedule, or a schedule rather is dictated by the environment and how we feel, and how hungry we are. When do we need to stop for lunch? What's your stomach saying? It's just such a basic primal way to live. It's so simple, and it gets complicated when we're coordinating, the logistic things and meeting up with people in cities and towns. But for the most part, most of our expedition is run on our own time, which is really really, really cool.
And it's also getting to meet all of these different people. And when we start telling them about what we're doing, they get excited. And what can I do? How can I offer you support? What, do you need anything? And just sort of that people want to be involved in what we're doing, and it gets them excited is really fun. And hearing from some of my female friends talking about how Source of Confidence and what Lisa and I are doing out here has inspired them. Like, one of my friends just said that she's signed up at the beginning of the summer for a relay race that she was scared to before, though she took what I've been talking about with Source of Confidence to heart and is going to run this relay race. And my other friend was talking about how she's learning to drive stick shift, and, you know, this idea of taking positive risks to build your confidence. So that's been a lot of fun.
How much further do you have to go?
That's a great question. We have about
2,700
miles, 2,600 miles.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. I mean, they say that this, as the fourth longest river system in the world, is somewhere around like 3,982, because the top 5 longest river systems in the world are only all separated by a handful of miles. So when we're on the reservoirs, you're not paddling the river miles, because those go down the middle and you have to stay closer to shore for safety, because in some places these reservoirs are 5 to 6 miles wide. So you end up paddling a lot more miles than just what they say the river miles are. So it's hard to know exactly. So approximately 2,700 miles.
What month do you estimate you'll be finishing?
November 27th is when we are going to reach the Gulf of Mexico, according to our timeline. So it keeps changing, and who knows? So the end of November.
How can people contact you if they want to learn more about the expedition?
We are on Facebook as Source of Confidence. We are also, if you email sourceofconfidence@gmail.com, we will try our best to get back to you as quickly as possible, but we are still out on the river right now, so it is difficult sometimes with cell service and whatnot. But we're also on wildernessclassroom.com/SOC expedition, and there you can follow us. We have a tracking device that updates where we are every 5 minutes, and we also post our weekly reflections from the river there as well, and our curriculum pieces. So for educators and for people who are interested in learning how to build confidence, wildernessclassroom.com/SOC expedition is where you can find a lot of great information on how to build confidence.
And hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be launching our own e-commerce site where you can contact us, and we'll eventually have pictures that we've taken and other artwork that we've created up. So you'll have to check out all those places Lisa just mentioned for that announcement later this month.
Lisa Pugh, Alyce Kuenzli, thank you so much for coming on the show, and good luck and stay safe.
Thank you.
Follow along.
Recorded August 11th, 2016. For more great podcasts, visit thepursuitzone.com.